The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has recalled all flavors of Diamond Shruumz brand products. Good evening, I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Mariah Conjito. Now, that brand of cannabis concentrate product have been causing unintended symptoms that have led to at least one death. Kentucky health officials say the products have been found here in Kentucky. WKYT's Jessica Umbro has the details in our top story at 6.
Unfortunately, we're looking at a statewide and a national event.
The Kentucky Poison Control Center is sounding the alarm about Diamond Shruumz, a product that is reported to have led to illness in about 28 states, including Kentucky, where there have been 5 reported cases found in Boone, Harrison, Fayette, McCracken, and Grayson counties.
They start to feel weak and unwell, and then we've had cases where they've had seizures, where they've had difficulty breathing. They've had to be put on a ventilator in the ICU for a couple of days.
Nationwide, there is one death under investigation tied to these illnesses, and the packaging of Diamond Shruumz is another cause for concern.
They look like a candy bar, and so they would be attractive to kids, and we would be concerned if this was in a household with children that they may not distinguish this between a normal candy bar.
Public health officials say one of the hurdles that they're facing is getting the word out about Diamond Shruumz, and they're working to educate the public about its dangers.
So if you're at the grocery just buying regular mushrooms, you are fine. These are mushrooms that are supposed to be microdosed.
Cassie Prather with the Woodford County Health Department says these products are currently not supposed to be sold, but she encourages Kentuckians to be vigilant.
As a parent, know what your kids are doing. As a public health professional, make sure you're monitoring, making sure that people aren't selling things that they're not supposed to be.
In Woodford County, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
Those who believe they've consumed or are in possession of the recalled Diamond Shruumz products, they're encouraged to call Kentucky Poison Control. That number is on your screen.